preparedness in terms of what we have to do to protect our national security. So we've also had additional deployments, and they've stayed through one winter. We are getting close to another winter. So I have every confidence that the Indian Armed Forces will do what they have to do to protect this country. And I expect everybody else who's reasonably patriotic to have the same confidence.
Dr. Jaishankar, having one hostile neighbor is bad enough. At this moment, we have the PLA amassed along the LAC. We have the Pakistani army, which continues its nefarious designs along the line of control and in Jammu and Kashmir. And now we have in Afghanistan, China and Pakistan working in concert. Would you say in some senses this is a worst case strategic situation playing itself out? And how are you recalibrating India's strategy given the fact that you've got two hostile neighbors working so closely in tandem?
You know, Rahul, we're coming back to this point, which is you pose the problem as though I have a choice in the matter. I don't. You know, I have what I have. So if I've had pretty much a continuously difficult situation on my western border. Now, if along with that I have an aggravation on my northern border, but I will do what I have to do to meet it. You know, I can't say, well, I'm overstretched or I don't like it or, you know, this is a very complex challenge. I mean, I'm presented with a clear and present danger, and I have to respond to that. And I would say, very frankly, we have, you know, the armed forces have done that, have done a very good job in responding to it.
You know, the one thing I'm sure many people sitting here at the India Today conclave and watching on TV or on our digital assets would really appreciate is the manner in which not just that we stood up to the PLA, but we stood up to neo-imperialism of kind being shown by the United Kingdom on the issue of the Desi vaccine. The same vaccine, when they're administering to their citizens, to others, they think is good enough for them to be allowed to travel the world over. And when India administers the Covishield, somehow they had a problem. And that's, you know, really a sign of a new assertive India saying, okay, you don't let me in, I don't let you in, now you're quarantined as well. Well done, Dr. Jaishankar.
Well, thank you. I just think it's a sensible India. I mean, what else would you do? I mean, to me, this was a problem which shouldn't have arisen in the first place. So, we did what we had to do, and I'm glad we've sorted out the situation. And I had a very, very cordial talk with my counterpart this afternoon. I hope both of us agreed that we should find ways by which travel happens more freely and naturally and without quarantine between our countries. So that's where it is.
Well, just shifting focus to the United States of America, we're looking at an entirely new theater. That's the AUKUS. We know Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to the United States of America. The Quad Summit was a great success. But how do you see the Quad vis-a-vis AUKUS, which is a military alliance, and it is very openly says it's a counter-China alliance?
Well, look, I'm not part of AUKUS, so what AUKUS says doesn't say it's for them to decide. My understanding of it is a large part of it derives from a particular capability, which is an Australian submarine capability, and whatever discussions the concerned countries have had about enhancing that capability. But very frankly, I don't see a particular connection between any of that and the Quad. I mean, first of all, two of us in the Quad, Japan and us, are not involved in it. Secondly, a lot of Quad countries, two of them or one of them sometimes, have other relationships, other trilaterals or quadrilaterals or other organizations. So it's not that there's any understanding that the four Quad countries only deal among themselves. Everybody deals with everybody else. I mean, we ourselves have a trilateral, we and Australia with Indonesia. We have a trilateral, we and Australia with Japan. So In fact, interestingly, we in Australia have a trilateral with France, okay, which was supposed to meet in New York, which didn't. Today the nature of diplomacy has changed. This combination of countries is sitting together and figuring out how best to advance their interests and address their concerns. This is getting more and more routinized. This is evolution of the international order, partly because we are moving away from the bipolar and the unipolar world. So even the United States, finds it useful to work with other countries, and obviously other, lesser powers even more so. The fact is also that the reality of the strategic landscape, multilateral solutions and initiatives are not readily available. So I think to some extent, the UN is gridlocked, it is anachronistic, it's often not there. So when you have that situation, but the problems are still real and pressing, I think countries have just decided, okay, we'll go find our own fix. And this is one of those cases.
Minister, you've been at the very tops of India's official machinery, and now you're the minister. Very curious to know, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well, if you could give us a little bit of insight into how the machine sort of recalibrated itself from a Trump administration to a Biden administration. We all know what the Trump administration was like. Yeah, I just want to know, how is it dealing with Trump, and how different is it dealing with a President Biden?
Our machine or their machine?
Ours.
Our
yes.
machine. Okay. Look,
and your ministry in particular.
Sure. Oh, that's the machine
yes.
Which it's the nature of our business to adjust to whatever is out there. Okay. If you have a Trump administration, you obviously study the Trump administration, dissect it, figure out who are the players, what makes them move, how do you make your pitch, what are their sensitivities. So it's, in a sense, a universal proposition. Diplomacy is about studying foreign governments, countries, administrations, and figuring out how to get your work done. Now, I quite take your point that there's a contrast between Trump and Biden. You study it and decide how to adjust your working methods and your agenda and your articulation and, in a sense, your tactics.
Is it a fair assessment from the outside that the Modi government would have been more comfortable continuing to work with the Trump administration than it is working with the Democrat administration, which wherever it gets an opportunity likes to raise issues sometimes which the Indian government or the ruling party doesn't find very happy to have to engage with?
No, look, my first experience with Prime Minister Modi engaging the United States was not with Trump, it was with Obama. Okay. Now, I want you to go back when Trump won the election. And if you check back, many of you actually said it's going to be very difficult for Indians to deal with Trump. Okay. Then, when the next guy wins the election, all of you say it's going to be very difficult for the Indians to deal with Biden. Now, I hate to disappoint you. We're going to be actually fairly good at dealing with whoever's out there. That's our job.
So, we've all seen Yes Minister. You're amongst those very few who's been on both sides of the table. Give everyone sitting here some insights, and you can let your guard down and bat like Sehwag for a moment, on the difference between being, say, Foreign Secretary and Foreign Minister. I'm curious to know which one do you enjoy more, which is the trickier job, and what kind of insights do you have?
Well, actually, I've done 3 of those jobs, which is the minister hacker job, the Appleby job, but I've also done the Bernard job, which is being the special assistant to the minister. Now, if you refer to Yes Minister and then tell somebody, let your guard down, the Appleby in me comes out, So look, it's a different